Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something, and be honest with yourself. Have you ever woken up already feeling drained? Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, even spiritually? Like you're moving through each day with no energy, no joy, and no real sense of direction? You meet every deadline, check every box, smile through the meetings, yet deep down, you're running on empty. That's not laziness, that's burnout. And burnout isn't some vague condition, it's the result of how we're living. Here's the truth. You don't overcome burnout with just a weekend off or a trip away. You overcome burnout with a system. Not by doing less, but by building smarter structure. Not by disconnecting, but by reconnecting with what truly matters. Life doesn't get easier, you get stronger. And real strength, it needs order, it needs rhythm. Structure isn't the enemy of freedom, it's actually what creates it. Too often, people wait until life falls apart before they decide to rebuild it. But what if you didn't wait? What if this moment became your turning point? In this video, I'll show you how to reclaim your energy, sharpen your focus, and take back your life, one intentional habit at a time. Stop just getting through the day. It's time to restore your rhythm, reset your mind, and finally overcome burnout for good. Let's begin. First, let's clear something up. Burnout is not a flaw. It's not laziness. It's not about lacking ambition. It's not that you're incapable. And surprisingly, it's not even that you're doing too much. Burnout is what happens when you try to run full speed without a map. Let me explain. We live in a fast-paced world. Everywhere you turn, you're told to go harder, say yes more, push further, grind endlessly. But no one stops to ask the key question, where are you actually going? And even more importantly, how are you planning to get there? Here's what most people overlook. Speed alone isn't the problem. It's the lack of structure that wears you down. Picture this, you're in a car, pressing the gas, but your tires are stuck in mud. There's movement, there's effort, but no progress. Just spinning wheels and wasted energy. That's burnout. Now here's a key principle. Motion doesn't equal progress. And progress without purpose, that's draining. People don't burn out because they care too deeply. They burn out because they never take the time to organize what they care about. They give all of themselves to everything and end up with nothing left for themselves. Let me put it this way. If you don't build a system for your life, burnout will build one for you, and you won't like the result. Burnout creates a life filled with urgency, obligation, confusion, and exhaustion. It traps you in a cycle of always feeling behind, constantly anxious, and questioning whether any of it is even worth it. But here's what you need to know. This can be fixed. And no, the answer isn't to run from responsibility, abandon everything, or escape to the mountains. The solution is structure. Most people don't need fewer responsibilities, they need a better approach. You don't have to abandon your goals, you just need to establish some guardrails. You need a system. Here's a simple but powerful truth. Energy without structure leads to burnout. Energy with structure leads to breakthroughs. Burnout is a message your system is out of alignment. Think of it like the check engine light in your car. You don't smash the dashboard or get mad at the warning. You investigate the cause and make adjustments. So rather than asking, what's wrong with me? Try asking, where is my system broken? Do you have a morning routine that brings clarity? Do you schedule your most important work, or do you simply hope time will appear? Do you protect your energy like it's valuable, or give it away to the loudest demand each day? Let me tell you what made the biggest difference in my own life. I stopped reacting and started building. I built a life with intention. I created a calendar that reflected my values. I put boundaries in place to guard my peace. I developed habits that refueled my mind and soul. That's how you overcome burnout. Not by waiting for life to calm down, but by building the structure that helps you stay grounded even when life speeds up. So here's my encouragement. No matter how tired you feel today, there is a better path. It doesn't require a miracle. It doesn't need a rescue. It just takes one decision. The decision to stop living by default and start living by design. Because burnout isn't the end, it's an invitation to pause. Not to give up, but to recalibrate, to stop running in circles and start moving with direction. Remember this, burnout isn't a character flaw, it's a system flaw. Fix the system and you'll find yourself again. Let's move forward with structure. Let's rebuild with purpose. And let's start today. Now, Let's talk about discipline, because discipline is the foundation that fuels your energy. I know what you might be thinking. Discipline sounds hard. It sounds restrictive. It sounds like sacrifice. But here's the truth that changed everything for me. Discipline is not a burden, it's a battery. It doesn't drain you, it recharges you. It doesn't limit your freedom, it creates it. Burnout doesn't happen because you work hard, it happens because you work without order. What really wears you down are the constant decisions, distractions, and disorganization. Discipline cuts through that. It brings clarity. It conserves energy. Here's a principle worth remembering. Discipline is the invisible structure that holds your energy in place. Without it, energy leaks. You lose time, you lose focus, you lose strength. But with discipline, everything starts to shift. Your mornings become clearer, your mind sharpens, your sense of direction strengthens. Ask yourself, when do you feel at your best? When do you feel calm, confident, and in control? It's not during chaos. It's not when you're juggling a dozen things at once. It's when you're in a rhythm, a flow, a structure. That's discipline. It's waking up early, not because you must, but because you want to lead the day instead of chasing it. It's planning ahead so your day doesn't control you. It's choosing to do the hard thing first so the rest of the day feels lighter. It's saying no distractions so you can say yes to what matters. And no, you don't need to be extreme, you just need to be consistent. You don't have to run 10 miles every day, but maybe you do need to take a 20-minute walk. You don't have to read 50 books this year, but maybe you can read 10 pages each night. Discipline isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters on purpose. If you want to overcome burnout, stop negotiating with your purpose. Stop starting over every Monday. Stop living on autopilot and calling it a lifestyle. Instead, build a foundation, one small, intentional discipline at a time. Wake up with purpose, eat with awareness, work with focus, rest with peace. Each habit is a brick. And over time, those bricks form the foundation, the fortress that protects your energy. And after years of observing, I've seen the pattern clearly. Many people believe motivation is the key to success, but motivation is fleeting. It's a spark, quick, emotional, and temporary. Discipline, on the other hand, is the firewood. It keeps the flame alive when the spark has long faded. So don't rely on motivation. Build a system. Wake up because it's part of your identity, not because you feel like it. Show up because you made a decision, not because your emotions gave you the green light. Discipline is rooted in identity. Identity fuels consistency, and consistency guards your energy better than anything else. Let me say that again. Discipline protects your energy, and energy is the currency of success. You show me someone who's calm, focused, and fulfilled, and I'll show you someone living with discipline. Not perfection, not rigidity, just a steady, intentional structure. So today, ask yourself, what's one habit I can put in place that would improve how I feel tomorrow? What's one area where comfort has replaced consistency? What's one promise I can make and keep to myself, starting now? You don't need a dramatic overhaul. You need small, repeatable, structured steps carried out with discipline. Burnout doesn't lose because you do less. It loses when you live with order. So let your discipline be your foundation. Let it become your shield. Let it fuel your strength, because when you build your life on discipline, you don't just get through the day, you lead it. And here's something that might surprise you. Stress doesn't come from having too much to do. It comes from not knowing when you'll do it. That's the real issue. It's not the mountain that wears you down. It's the fog. It's the uncertainty. It's the mental juggling of unfinished tasks and loose ends. When you go through life without a schedule, you hand over your time to stress. And stress is a terrible manager. Stress operates in panic. It reacts instead of plans. It waits until the last moment. It thrives in chaos and feeds on guilt. But here's the good news. You can take control back. All you need is a calendar, not just to track the urgent, but to intentionally shape the important. Now, I often meet people who say, I don't like structure. I prefer to go with the flow. And I smile and respond, that's fine as long as the flow isn't carrying you off a cliff. Because if you don't put your priorities on your calendar, the world will fill it for you with other people's meetings. Endless notifications, shallow distractions, and false urgencies that rob you of time and peace. Here's a principle I live by. If it's not scheduled, it's just a wish. You want to exercise more? Schedule it. Want to read every day? Schedule it. Want to start a side business? Improve your health? Spend time with your family? Schedule it. Or watch those intentions get buried by everything else. Time isn't something you find, it's something you make with a plan. And I'm not talking about stuffing every second with activity. I'm talking about creating a rhythm that actually works for your life. A rhythm that includes rest, honors your energy, and protects your focus. That's what a schedule does. It clears the mental clutter. Instead of always asking yourself, what should I be doing right now? You already know. Instead of reacting to every email, every notification, every distraction, you stay anchored to what matters. And that's not restriction, that's freedom. Structure doesn't limit you, it liberates you. And to prove it, let me give you a practical tip, something simple you can start today. Every evening, take just 10 minutes to write down your next day. Not in your head, on paper. Decide ahead of time what's most important. Block it out on your calendar. Protect that time like it's sacred, because it is. Do this one habit and you will cut your stress in half. Why? Because when the day begins, you're already in control. You're not waking up in a fog, scrambling to figure it out. You're not reacting. You're executing. You're not asking, what should I do? You're declaring, this is what I've chosen. And that shift from uncertainty to intention changes everything. So here's my challenge. No more open calendars. No more waking up and waiting to see where the day takes you. Take out a planner, your phone, a whiteboard, anything. Write down what matters most and give it a time and a place to live. Because if you don't, stress will, and trust me, when you start owning your schedule, you start owning your life, the mind quiets down, the heart feels lighter, the work becomes focused, and burnout starts to lose its grip. Structure your time, protect your peace, and lead your life by design, not by default. Now let's move forward because we're just getting started. Here's your next breakthrough. Say no with structure or say yes to exhaustion. Let me give you a life-changing truth, one most people never hear. Every yes is also a no. You can't say yes to everything and still live a meaningful life. You can't say yes to every request, every distraction, every demand, and still expect to feel energized, focused, and fulfilled. It doesn't work that way. The problem is, most people don't burn out because they're weak. They burn out because they don't know how or when to say no. So they say yes. Yes to extra work, yes to last-minute favors, yes to late-night emails, yes to things they don't have time for, energy for, or even interest in. But do you know what that kind of yes really is? It's not kindness. It's quiet surrender. Surrender to exhaustion. See, when you live without boundaries, the world will take everything you have. Not because it's malicious, but because it's hungry. And if you don't have a structure to filter your time, your calendar, your values, you will end up overwhelmed, overbooked, and over it. That's why you must learn how to say no, not with anger, not with guilt, but with clarity, with confidence, and with grace. Saying no doesn't mean you're rude. It doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care deeply about what matters most. Here's a principle that will change your life. If you don't protect your energy, someone else will. If you don't protect your energy, someone else will spend it. If you don't guide your time, someone else will fill it with their agenda. And if you don't build a wall around your peace, the world will walk right over it. You need a structure. You need a system. You need a filter for your decisions so you don't just react, you respond with intention. And that starts with knowing your yes. When you're clear on what you said yes to, you can say no without guilt. You can say no without apology. You can say no without explanation. That's not arrogance. That's clarity. Clarity creates boundaries. Boundaries create protection. Protection creates energy. You don't need to say no to everything, just the things that don't align with your purpose. You don't need to become rigid, just responsible. You don't need to feel bad for honoring your limits. Those limits are what keep you strong. So here's what I recommend. Create a non-negotiables list. Write down what matters most, your values, your commitments, your sacred space, then schedule around those first. And when something tries to interrupt, you can say, I can't say yes to that. I've already said yes to something more important. That's structure. That's discipline. That's leadership over your own life. Because burnout doesn't come from doing too little. It comes from saying yes to too much of what doesn't matter and leaving no room for what does. So let me ask you, who or what are you saying yes to out of fear or guilt? What would change if you started saying no with strength instead of saying yes with resentment? What could you protect? Your time, your energy, your peace of mind, just by setting a few clear boundaries. You don't need to be everything to everyone. You don't need to answer every call, reply to every message, or accept every request. You need to honor your structure. And once you build it, let that structure speak for you. Because when you do, you'll feel lighter, you'll feel focused, you'll feel strong again. In the end, saying no isn't rejection. It's protection. It's protecting your purpose. It's protecting your pace. It's protecting the life you're building, one intentional yes and one courageous no at a time. Now let's keep going because we're just getting started. Here's a truth that might just change the way you live. Rest is a responsibility, not a reward. Let's clear up one of the most dangerous misunderstandings in our culture. Too many people believe that rest is something you earn, that it's a prize you get after you've crossed off every task. But let me tell you, friend, that mindset is a trap. Because here's what happens. You overwork, you overstretch, you keep saying just one more task, one more hour, and before you know it, your body is exhausted, your mind is foggy, and your motivation is gone. That's not productivity. That's poor planning. Rest doesn't belong at the end of your schedule. It belongs at the beginning because it's part of the plan. You don't rest because you're lazy. You rest because you're wise. You rest because you understand that your energy is your greatest asset and you guard it like gold. Let's get this straight. Rest is not weakness, it's wisdom. Rest sharpens the mind before the decision. It restores the heart before the next battle. It fuels the body before the next stretch of focus. Most people don't burn out because they're doing too much. They burn out because they never stop long enough to recover, reflect, and realign. So let me ask you, when was the last time you rested on purpose? Not because your body collapsed, not because you got sick, not because you hit the wall, but because you planned to, because it was scheduled, because you understood that rest is what makes the work sustainable. Here's the truth. If you don't plan your rest, your body will and you won't like the timing. That's the cost of ignoring rhythm. Nature doesn't run 24/7, and neither should you. The seasons shift. The tides rise and fall. Your lungs inhale and exhale. There is no high performance without deliberate recovery. Let me give you a principle that will anchor you. Rest is fuel, not failure. When you rest intentionally, you return stronger. Your thoughts are clearer. Your decisions are sharper. Your energy is renewed. You walk into the next task ready, not resentful. You lead from overflow, not from emptiness. So here's what I recommend. Build rest into your weekly structure. Treat it like a meeting with your future self. Block out time for silence. Step away from the noise. Turn off the screen. Take a walk. Take a nap. Take a breath. Rest isn't passive, it's productive. It's the foundation that allows you to keep showing up day after day with strength and presence. So no more treating rest like it's optional. No more guilt for taking a break. Guilt has no place in rest because rest is part of the plan. Think of it this way. You wouldn't drive your car until the tank is empty, then blame the car when it breaks down. So stop doing that to yourself. No, you stop, you refuel, you check the engine, you invest in its performance. So why should your body, your mind, your soul be treated with any less care? Friend, let me tell you something important. Rest is leadership. It's the quiet, confident decision to say, I value my energy so much, I protect it before it runs out. It's not about waiting for burnout to hit. It's about building a rhythm that makes burnout unnecessary. So from this day forward, shift your mindset. Rest isn't the reward for hard work. It's the responsibility of those who want to lead, to last, and to live well. Build rest into your week the same way you build your schedule. Plan it, protect it, and practice it. Because a rested mind is a powerful mind, and a rested heart is a wise one. Let's keep going. You're not just surviving, you're learning how to thrive. Purpose brings power. Structure keeps it focused. Let me share something I've seen time and time again. Purpose brings power, but structure gives it direction. When someone discovers their purpose, you can see it in their eyes. It lights them up. Purpose wakes you up in the morning with a whisper. There's something important for you to do. But here's the danger. Purpose without structure will wear you out. Passion can pull you in every direction. And if you don't build a system to channel it, you'll end up scattered, stretched, and eventually burned out. Picture purpose like a powerful river. It's strong, alive, and full of energy. But without banks, without boundaries, it floods. It spills out, loses momentum, and does damage. Structure is what gives that river its focus. Purpose is potential, structure is execution. Together, they create unstoppable momentum. So let me ask you, have you ever felt fired up about an idea but couldn't follow through? Ever had a big dream but lacked consistent action? That's not a motivation problem, that's a structure problem. You don't need more inspiration, you need a framework, a plan, a system, one that gives your purpose a time and place to live on your calendar. Because the person who burns with passion but lacks discipline, they shine bright but crash hard. But the person who builds a structure around their passion, they don't just flash, they endure. Here's the key. Translate your purpose into process. Don't just say, I want to help people. Ask, when will I help them? How? For how long? With what tools? Don't just say, I want to build something great. Ask, what's one step I can take today and again tomorrow to move forward? Purpose fuels the engine. Structure lays the tracks. And when those two align, something powerful happens. You stop feeling scattered and start feeling momentum. You don't burn out when you know what to do next. You burn out when you care deeply, but move aimlessly. So here's what I recommend. Take your purpose and break it down into a repeatable rhythm. Don't rely on willpower. Don't wait for motivation. Build rituals, build routines, build systems. Because the system doesn't ask how you feel, it just shows up. And when your structure shows up, your purpose stays alive. Let me say it plainly. A purpose protected by structure becomes unstoppable. And yes, to some, structure might seem boring, but boredom is better than burnout, and consistency always beats chaos. What does that look like in real life? If you're a writer, structure. Time to write, same time every day. If you're a leader, structure, time to think, plan, and reflect. If you're a parent, structure, time to be present, not just busy. If you're a dreamer, structure your dream into daily trackable steps. Don't just hope it all fits in, make it fit by design. Because if your purpose is worth pursuing, it's worth scheduling. Now here's the final piece. When you structure your purpose, something magical happens. You feel energized, not drained. You feel clear, not confused. You feel aligned, not anxious. That's the reward of structure. That's how purpose becomes real. So ask yourself today, what is my purpose calling me to do? And where have I scheduled that purpose to show up this week? What systems do I need to protect it, fuel it, and follow through on it? Because remember, the power of your purpose is only as strong as the structure behind it. Let's keep going. You're building something extraordinary. Eliminate the non-essential. Simplify to multiply. One of the greatest lessons I've ever learned, not from a billionaire, not from a philosopher, but from life itself, is that success is not about doing more, it's about doing less better. Most people are drowning in clutter, not just in their closets, but in their calendars, their commitments, their thinking. Burnout often comes not from overwork, but from overload. Too many tasks, too many open tabs, too many priorities, all fighting for oxygen. When everything is important, nothing is. If you want to beat burnout and build something meaningful, you have to do what most avoid. You have to simplify, eliminate, and subtract, not just add. Complexity drains, simplicity energizes. Every time you remove the unnecessary, you create more space for what truly matters. Every time you say no to the trivial, you say yes to the vital. In that space, clarity, energy, and peace return. Letting go isn't always easy. We like to hold on to everything, every project, invitation, or just in case idea. But the cost is high. The more plates you try to spin, the more likely you are to drop the ones that actually matter. So what do? You simplify and multiply. Start asking a powerful daily question about everything. Is this essential? Not urgent. Not whether someone will be upset if you say no, but is this essential to your mission, your energy, your values? If it's not essential, it's excess. And excess is expensive. Here's a real life example. Imagine a to-do list with 25 items. You tackle the easiest first, low hanging fruit, busy work. You cross off a few boxes, but the most important task is still untouched. That's not productivity. It's procrastination disguised as activity. Now, what if you cut that list down to just the top 3 actions that truly move the needle? Then you're not just moving, you're multiplying. Simplicity is not laziness, it's leverage. High performers don't do more, they waste less. They're not busier, they're clearer. They don't chase, they choose. To get there, do a clutter audit. Audit your calendar. What meetings don't need to be there? Audit your commitments. What projects no longer align with your purpose? Audit your habits. What routines drain more than build you? Audit your inputs. What content, conversations, or people create noise instead of progress? Once you identify the non-essential, cut it. Don't delay or overthink. Create margins so you can breathe again. Creativity needs space, energy needs rest, and purpose needs room to grow. Remember this, don't add things to your life until you subtract what's in the way. You don't plant seeds in a field full of weeds. You clear the ground, you make space, you simplify, and then you multiply. So let's review. Burnout often comes from too much clutter, not too little capacity. Simplicity restores your focus and your power. Elimination's a tool, not a punishment. Clarity comes not just from starting things, but from stopping the wrong ones. Don't be afraid to let go. Don't be afraid to say no, because every time you eliminate the non-essential, you double down on what really matters. Simplify to multiply. Let's move forward. The best is still ahead. Track or trick, you're either measuring or lying. Let me share a truth that most people avoid, and it's a hard one. If you're not tracking your life, you're tricking yourself. You're not just behind on progress, you're blind to it. You're telling yourself stories like, I'm doing okay, I've been productive, I'm making progress. But when you look closer, nothing's really moving. The truth is, we don't manage what we don't measure. Now, I know tracking doesn't sound exciting. It sounds like numbers, charts, data, but here's what it really is. Tracking is the discipline of truth. It's the mirror that doesn't lie. It's the scoreboard that keeps you honest. It's the structure that brings awareness, and awareness changes everything. If you want to beat burnout, then you need clarity. And clarity only comes through measurement. Let me give you a principle. What gets measured gets better. What doesn't get measured usually gets worse. If you don't track your time, it disappears. If you don't track your money, it vanishes. If you don't track your habits, they slip. And if you don't track your energy, one day you wake up exhausted and you don't even know why. Here's a line worth writing down. The vague leads to fatigue. The specific restores power. You don't need a complicated system. You don't need 10 apps and 3 spreadsheets. You just need a pen, a journal, a moment of reflection. Ask yourself each day, how did I spend my time today? What gave me energy and what drained it? Did I move the needle on something meaningful or just stay busy? Track those 3 things and your life will change in 30 days because tracking reveals patterns. And once you see the pattern, you can change the pattern. Now, let me warn you, the ego won't like this because when you start tracking, you start confronting. You confront how often you check your phone. You confront how long your quick breaks really are. You confront how much energy you're spending on things that don't matter. But that confrontation, that's where growth begins. And let me be real with you. Most people would rather feel productive than be productive. They'd rather feel busy than be effective. They'd rather assume things are working than face the numbers that say otherwise. But not you, not anymore. You're here because you want to take back your life with structure. And structure is built on feedback you can see, feedback you can adjust, feedback that fuels improvement. So here's the challenge. Pick one area of your life, just one. Maybe it's how you spend your morning. Maybe it's your screen time. Maybe it's your top 3 priorities. Start measuring it daily, not perfectly, but consistently. Because once you start measuring, your awareness grows. And when your awareness grows, so does your discipline. And when your discipline grows, burnout begins to fade. You see, burnout thrives in the dark. It hides in the places we're not watching. But when the light of structure shines on it, it loses power. You don't need to fix everything at once. You just need to start tracking the truth. Because here's the final truth of this chapter, and it's a big one. You're either measuring your life or you're lying about it. Let's choose truth. Let's choose clarity. Let's build with data, not just dreams, because that's how real progress is made. Let's move on. The best chapters are still ahead. Build a structure of people, not just plans. Let me tell you something that most productivity books forget to mention. You don't just need a plan, you need people. See, we often talk about goals, habits, systems, calendars. And yes, all of those are critical. But there's something even more powerful that determines your progress, your peace, and your ability to beat burnout. And that's your circle. Because I don't care how disciplined you are, if your environment is filled with chaos, conflict, and constant noise, it's only a matter of time before your energy runs dry. You can have the best plan in the world, but if the people around you don't support it, it will collapse. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying you need cheerleaders all day, but I am saying this. Your structure must include relationships that fuel you, not just tasks that drain you. Burnout doesn't just come from overwork. It often comes from relational misalignment, from carrying other people's expectations, from saying yes when you want to say no, from being surrounded by people who don't respect your boundaries or your values. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So take a look. Who's in your circle? Are they building with you or breaking your focus? Are they energizing you or constantly pulling you off track? You see, structure isn't just about how you organize your day. It's about how you guard your environment. And people are the biggest part of that environment. So how do you build a structure of people? Let me show you. First, identify your energizers. These are the folks who speak truth, who encourage your growth, who respect your time and challenge your excuses. You need to schedule time with these people on purpose. They're not optional, they're essential. Second, set boundaries with your drainers. Now, I'm not saying cut everyone off, but I am saying structure your interactions. Limit the unproductive conversations. Guard your emotional energy, because you're not just managing your time, you're managing your mind. Third, create accountability. Find 1 or 2 people who will check in with you, not to control you, but to support you. Progress multiplies in the presence of accountability. If you're trying to build structure alone, you're making it harder than it has to be. And fourth, become the person you want to attract. Don't just look for disciplined, encouraging, focused people. Be one, because like attracts like. You don't get the network you want, you get the network you build. Let me say that again. The structure of your life will rise or fall based on the people you build it with. So let me ask you, who are the voices that shape your day? Who do you turn to when your energy is low and your vision is blurry? Who challenges you to stay committed to your priorities and walk in integrity? And here's the tough one. Who do you need to limit in order to protect the structure you're building? This isn't about arrogance. It's about stewardship. Your time, your peace, your purpose, they're too valuable to hand over to chaos. You want to beat burnout? Don't isolate. Don't power through alone. Build a circle, build a system, build a support structure made of people who help you stay aligned, energized, and focused. Because when your plans fail, and sometimes they will, it's your people who keep you standing. So don't just build a structured day, build a structured environment. And most of all, build a structured community. Because when the foundation shakes, it's your circle that keeps you from falling. Let's finish strong. We're almost there. Make burnout a turning point, not a permanent label. Let me tell you something powerful, something I wish more people believed. Burnout is not who you are, it's where you are. It's not a label, it's not a lifelong sentence. It's a signal, a cry for change, for alignment, for structure. And the best part, it can be your turning point. Now, I know what burnout feels like. Exhausted but unable to rest. Busy but not progressing. Waking up with no fuel and going to bed with no peace. But listen, just because you feel stuck doesn't mean you are stuck. Just because life got loud doesn't mean you lost your voice. And just because you've been overwhelmed doesn't mean you're not still capable of order, of growth, of greatness. Let me remind you of a timeless principle. Every breakdown carries the seed of a breakthrough, if you learn from it. Burnout is not your enemy, it's your invitation. It's life telling you you can't keep doing it this way. It's a message, a warning light, not to quit, but to rebuild. Now, rebuilding isn't complicated, but it is intentional. You rebuild with structure. You rebuild with discipline. You rebuild with purpose. You rebuild with boundaries. And above all, you rebuild with belief. Belief that your energy is worth protecting. Belief that your time is worth managing. Belief that your future is worth designing. You see, burnout thrives in chaos, but chaos can't survive in a life of clarity and order. So what if today you made the decision not to escape, not to run, but to pivot, to realign, to let this moment, this chapter of burnout be the place where everything changes. You don't need a full life overhaul. You need a real plan with structure. And let me tell you what structure brings. It brings calm to the chaos. It brings focus to the fog. It brings confidence where fear used to live. With structure, you begin to feel control again. With structure, you get traction. And with traction, you start to move. You don't just wake up and hope. You wake up and act. You don't just wish for balance. You build it one block, one system, one habit at a time. So what's the takeaway? Burnout is real, yes, but it's not your end. It's your opening the doorway to a better designed life. You've got to shift the question from why am I so tired to what is my life missing in structure, order, clarity, and purpose? Because once you ask the right questions, the answers begin to change everything. Now, let me say this directly from me to you. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're just one structure away from your comeback. So make the decision. Let this burnout season be the thing that wakes you up, not the thing that takes you out. Turn the page, refuse the label, build the structure, and step into the life that's waiting for you, organized, energized, focused, and full. Because when you use burnout as a turning point, you don't just survive, you rise.